Well, hey everybody, John Ritlin here, and with SummerSlam 2019 just around the corner, just over 2 weeks away as we're recording this video, I'm giving you one of two ranking videos, and here's the first list. Every SummerSlam main event ranked from worst to best. Because when it comes to the biggest party of the summer, hooray, it's a party, yay, throw streamers and wear hats and everything, except I don't have the budget for that, so just imagine I'm wearing a weird goofy hat like I have in some past videos. But anyway, the whole point of SummerSlam is it's the second biggest pay-per-view in WWE's calendar year. I mean, you could argue the Royal Rumble kind of is, and that sets the tone for WrestleMania. Survivor Series has pretty much fallen off the map. But as far as the Big Four, SummerSlam is basically seen as the summer version of WrestleMania. And it's important to close it out with a hot main event. You know, just something where either the heel wins and the crowd, the fans want to tune in the next day to see the heel get their comeuppance, to see if the babyface will rise back up and beat them. Or you can see this big storyline culmination with the babyface, and oh my god, can they finally win this, and they win the title, and everybody's celebrating, hooray. And then in the case of some of these matches, they screwed up all that bullshit, and oh my god, with these ranking videos, you start off with all the bullshit, because that's kind of the whole point of worst to best. So, I have talked about some of these at length, do not worry, I will still be a little bit harsh when it comes to some of them, but I'm going to be positive when it comes to a lot of these matches. So, we've got 31 matches to cover, so let's get right on into it. With number 31, Lex Luger versus Yokozuna for the WWE title from SummerSlam 93. They hyped this up like crazy. Lex Luger slammed Yokozuna on, the USS Intrepid, the Lex Express, all this stuff. They were building it to where Lex was going to be the new American hero and beat Yokozuna and everything. And then rumors has it that half the locker room was going to walk out if Luger was made champion. Vince did not want to leave the fans unhappy, so he had Luger win by countout. So he won by countout, balloon streamers and all this stuff and everything. Everybody's celebrating. And half the crowd is like just looking, you fucking idiot, you didn't win the goddamn title. But then again, Luger is used to looking like a goddamn doofus because he was never really cut out to be in wrestling. I'm sorry, he really wasn't. I never cared for Lex Luger. A lot of people made him look good. There were very few times, especially in his WWE run, where he actually looked like he belonged. He always seemed like a WCW guy that just went to WWE to be a bodybuilder and earn more money and stuff like that and whatever. I don't know why he went there. I'm not really sure. It was pretty goddamn shit, but this was really, really bad. And the reason I'm ranking this one this low, even though there are some other main events that maybe were worked worse, like as far as like the participants or just the pacing and everything, they built this up like crazy where Luger was supposed to win the title and he didn't. So for fuck's sake, I have to rank it this low. If they had gone with my idea, there was a little fantasy booking thing, just a little cheap plug that I did sometime last year. Fantasy booking WWE title run from 93 to 94. I had Luger win the title here and then lose it to Bret Hart at Survivor Series, and then you went from there. So that's exactly what they should have done, because it took every bit out of Luger. Not that I wanted to see Luger as champion anyway, even at 12 years old, but for fuck's sake, they really did a goddamn bad job here, and it was terrible. It was a terrible end, and actually kind of started a trend of terrible SummerSlam main events for a few years, and actually for a number of years, with a few bright spots in between. So yeah, Luger and Yokozuna, worst SummerSlam main event ever. And then one that was actually a worse worked match, number 30 from 1995, Diesel versus Mabel for the WWE title. They had Mabel challenge for the WWE title. Diesel's run was not working as champion. No matter how hard he tried, it just wasn't working at all. Mabel nearly shattered Diesel's back. Big old schmoz finish and all this bullshit and everything. And it was fucking rotten. The closing moments of it were absolute bullshit. It was terrible. It was a worse match than Luger and Yokozuna, but given how they hyped the previous match, I have to rank this one just above it. But this one's really, really fucking bad. If you haven't seen it, you owe it to yourself to see just how much of a train wreck it is. I mean, fucking Christ. It couldn't have gone any worse. Except maybe if Diesel dropped Mabel on his neck like he did to the Giant when they did that powerbomb spot. And oh dear God, please don't do that again. So we go to number 29. This is from 1989. Hogan and Beefcake versus Savage and Zeus. What do you want me to say? Zeus never belonged in the ring. He belonged on the silver screen and actually has done pretty well for himself. Beefcake never belonged in the main event scene at all, but this wasn't the last time the Bruised Beefcake would be, with Hogan in a main event, because they main evented Starrcade 94. That's right, Brutus the Barber Beefcake and Hulk Hogan main evented Starrcade 94. For fuck's sake, I wonder why WCW went out of business. Good fucking God. So, this match was not very good. If Savage had still been champion by this point, had managed to retain the title of WrestleMania 5, and hold the championship to here, and maybe they had done a big old schmoz finish and put the title on the line in a tag match, that would have been even worse. At least Savage would have had the championship for a while, because Hogan did not need another year-long run. This match was a mess, no matter how hard Savage worked, and Savage always had to carry Hogan. He did. It just wasn't very good. Number 28, Undertaker versus Undertaker from SummerSlam 94. It's Undertaker and Ted DiBiase's Undertaker, which is Bryan Lee. Bryan Lee's a good worker. This did not work at all. The Leslie Nielsen vignettes, and that's Leslie Nielsen from the Naked Gun movies, actually managed to make this passable where he's searching for the Undertaker and everything. That was pretty good stuff. Unfortunately, this match wasn't. The stare down was cool. That's it. That's it. Once it actually got to the match, it was Bryan Lee trying to impersonate the Undertaker. And don't get me wrong, Bryan Lee, again, is a very good worker, but this match did not work. This was the main event over Bret and Owen for the in a steel cage match for the WWE Championship. This main evented over that. You should have had Bret and Owen main event, because then that one probably would have been top 5 easily. But alas, they did not do that. They went with this, and it was shit. It was just absolute shit. And then we go to number 27, Stone Cold versus Triple H versus Mankind for the WWE title from SummerSlam 99 with Jesse Ventura as a special guest referee. Jesse Ventura, this is the second time he appeared at a WrestleMania, or not a WrestleMania, well, actually WrestleMania also, but a SummerSlam where he was the special guest referee. I'm actually going to get into the other match that he did a little bit later in this countdown. It just wasn't very good. It was supposed to be Austin and Triple H, and with Triple H going over. But Austin didn't feel Triple H was ready, so he kind of uses backstage politics, rumors, even though actually it's been pretty much founded to be true. Mankind was put in, and Mankind pinned Austin, and then dropped the title to Triple H the next night. So it was messy. There was this one funny moment where Austin, I think, got tangled up in the ropes and everything, and Triple H was trying to save him because he didn't want his leg to snap. But they're trying not to laugh on camera while they're trying to free him. It's just like the fucking bulky knee brace and everything. It was pretty ridiculous. So Jesse Ventura really didn't factor in much as a ref, as opposed to the previous match that he was part of, and I'll get to that here in a bit. This just wasn't very good. It just wasn't. 1999 was a rough year match quality wise, especially like when it came to main events. Like if you take a look at a lot of the 1999 pay-per-views, yeah, they did big numbers. WWE was swimming in cash and everything and big ratings, but a lot of the match quality was absolute goddamn shit. I mean, it wasn't, and some of the characters were good. A lot of the characters were absolute shit. Also want to make a mention that pretty soon, probably sometime in August, I'm going to be doing and reviving, I did a Why 1999 Sucked in Wrestling series a while ago. That was sometime in like 2016. I think it was around this time, 3 years ago. I'm going to revive it because I was doing 10-minute bite-sized chunk videos, and now I'm going to write down complete lists, and I'm going to come up with angry rants for stuff and everything, and it'll probably be a shorter series, but anyway, that's what I'm going to be doing. But back to this, not a very good main event at all. And then we get to number 26 from last year's SummerSlam. Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns for the Universal title. They had Braun come down to pretend like he was going to cash in, just as a way to get the fans not to revolt. Well, then they did a big old schmoz and everything. It seemed like Brock might retain. Nope, Reigns wins. And it was one of the worst SummerSlam endings in history. I will not hear any arguments against that. Now, granted, Reigns did have to relinquish the title soon after, like a couple months later, due to leukemia. I'm taking that into account, though. It's terrible. Glad he recovered and everything. But at this time, nobody wanted to see this. I wanted the title off of Brock, but it's just they were so bound and determined to smash Reigns over that ultimately it didn't work. And all it did was turn the crowd against, it made Braun look like an idiot, because then Braun tried to cash in a little bit later and that didn't work. But taking in the totality of this main event, it was just not very good. It just wasn't, no matter how much they dressed it up, no matter how much smoke and mirrors they used, it was not good at all. And it left a lot of the fans flat. Now, some fans were happy, and that's fine. I mean, I had no issue with the title being on a full-time guy. I just wanted to be on somebody other than Reigns. It just didn't ultimately work for me. It did not ultimately work. And I stand by that, and I will stand by that until the day I go. This was not very good. Number 25, the 2003 SummerSlam Elimination Chamber World Title match. It was Triple H defending his title against Chris Jericho, Kevin Nash, Shawn Michaels, Randy Orton, and Goldberg. Had Goldberg won, this would have ultimately been top 10 easily. But Goldberg did not win. Kevin Nash got eliminated and then took out everybody, and then Goldberg smashed through everybody that was remaining and looked like he was going to take out Triple H. Triple H, who had a groin injury at the time. Perfect opportunity to get Goldberg over like crazy. Sure, he would have only had the title another month, but at least then Triple H would have been able to take, a little more time off and everything, and he wouldn't have been doing like all this, he wouldn't have been doing all this politicking and everything. It was fucking bullshit is what it was. So eventually, Goldberg lost, sledgehammer shot. It was stupid. I fucking hate it. It was absolutely fucking rotten. It was so fucking stupid. I could not fucking stand it at all. It was just bad. And then we get to number 24, the 2010 SummerSlam Team WWE, which was John Cena, Daniel Bryan, Edge, Jericho, Bret Hart, Truth, John Morrison versus Team Nexus, Wade Barrett, Justin Gabriel, Heath Slater, David Otunga, yes, he actually wrestled once, Skip Sheffield, who later became Ryback, Michael Tarver, and Darren Young. This had and I'm kind of repeating myself when it comes to had this happened instead. Had Team Nexus won, this would have been great. This would have been absolutely spectacular because you know what? Team Nexus winning would have been the right call. But no, they didn't have Team Nexus win. No, they had Team WWE win. They had John Cena take a DDT outside, which should have fucking killed somebody, and ended up beating two 2-on-1 after taking a DDT on the goddamn floor. It was absolutely ridiculous, and Team Nexus was completely killed by that. Now, granted, Skip Sheffield, aka Ryback, turned his ankle at one point. Michael Tarver may have not been cut out necessarily to be a long-term wrestler. I mean, even though I think Tarver actually deserved a better chance, Otunga sure as fuck didn't. But they had a chance to establish a heel faction and everything and make it where even if it petered out by the end of the year, they gave him this moment, and they didn't do that. And then you had Bret also wrestling. Apparently, Ricky Steamboat was actually supposed to be in there, but he suffered a brain aneurysm or something like that. That didn't, and sadly, that took him out of wrestling, or at least out of competing in the WWE ring. It's really, really sad about that. Bret shouldn't have been in there, though. They should have used somebody. I'm sorry, they should have used somebody else. Everything was dressed up, and this match was long, and it was well worked and everything. There was some good storytelling of Team WWE not being, on the same page, and everything was set up. And they fucked it all up, and then, yeah, Cena then subsequently lost from 2011 to 2016 at SummerSlam, which he should have been doing, because, I goddamn hate it. I goddamn hate how this match ended, even if Team Nexus wouldn't have lasted forever. And they probably wouldn't have. Hell, it could have maybe just lasted till WrestleMania 27. It would have boosted WrestleMania 27 to at least have the Nexus around instead of the core and the new Nexus, and sweet Christ, that stuff didn't work. It was just WWE nuking a potential popular faction. Whether it worked out long-term or not, this was a major fuck-up. It really was. It stunted the growth of every single person that was part of the Nexus. And then we go to number 23, Brock versus Triple H at the 2012 SummerSlam. It was the perfect storm, and it was not very good. It wasn't. They tried to force a sympathy with Triple H being, this guy that was fighting against Brock Lesnar. I'm going to take down Brock Lesnar. I'm going to beat down Brock Lesnar. I'm going to do all this stuff. And he didn't. He got his arm snapped. They tried to force sympathy. It didn't fucking work at all. It was really, really shit. And yeah, Triple H is like, I'm sorry. They tried to force us. And then Triple H got his win back at WrestleMania, so it really didn't do any good for Brock. This is one match that just didn't work. They should have had Punk versus Cena actually be the main event. Actually, I think it was Punk, Cena, and Big Show. They should have had that be the main event. Because honestly, Brock and Triple H, as much as they should have used Brock maybe a little bit better when he came back and not had him lose to John Cena, it ultimately just didn't work. Brock beat him, which he should have. Triple H and the sympathy just didn't work. And then we go to number 23. Nope, 22. I'm sorry, I tend to write these things down wrong. It's 1991 SummerSlam. Hogan and Warrior versus Sergeant Slaughter, General Adnan, and Colonel Mustafa, who was the Iron Sheik. It was the Welcome to Hell match, or the 3-stage. It was a match where it's like the match made in hell or whatever, instead of the match made in heaven, which was supposed to be the Savage, Elizabeth wedding, even though their marriage was falling apart at that point, but I digress. Sid Justice was the referee, and I'm sorry, this did not work. This did not work at all. And this is also the infamous match where Ultimate Warrior held up Vince for money, and then Vince agreed, but then the Instant Warrior chased everybody backstage, and Hogan beat Slaughter. That was pretty much it. Warrior was instantly suspended for basically holding the boss up for money. As much as I don't like Vince, and yes, Vince should be, providing health care for his people and stuff like that and everything, or at least for his wrestlers, because I'm sure he does for the executives and everything, and the other employees. What Warrior did was absolute dog shit. It just was, especially for somebody that really was lucky to, quite frankly, ever be in wrestling. Yeah, 1991 SummerSlam. This was a rough end. This was a real rough end. And I mean, it pretty much, like Slaughter's heel run was already undercut, but it just did not really work at all. Like this match, it's just all the fallout and everything. It just, even if you take that out, it just wasn't a very good match. It really wasn't. It was 2-on-3. I mean, technically 2-on-1 because Colonel Mustafa wasn't any good in the ring anymore, like Iron Sheik wasn't. General Adnan wasn't a wrestler, or at least much of a wrestler, and then there was Slaughter. So it was Slaughter versus Warrior and Hogan. It was just not good. Number 22, Stone Cold Steve Austin versus The Undertaker, WWE title from SummerSlam 98. Well, Austin, let's see, low blowed The Undertaker when he went for the stunner. He got knocked out at one point. It was called the Highway to Hell match, and it was kind of shit. It was kind of ultimately shit, and I don't really understand why this match is seen as such a great match when it really wasn't. It was very sloppy. It was not, I mean, not that Austin was necessarily ever a great technician, especially after he suffered the neck injuries and the constant knee injuries and everything, but good God, you can't tell me that this match shouldn't have been 100% better than it was, and oh, Undertaker's like, my brother won't interfere, nobody will interfere, and it was way too long, it was way too goddamn long, it just did not ultimately work for me. I honest to God hated this. I really fucking hated this. But 98 just was not. 98 was a good year for WWE, especially since they were rising back up and taking over WCW, but ultimately this main event did not work for me. Now, there are others that disagree, and that's totally fine. And then we go to the 2016 SummerSlam. It's Brock versus Orton. Well, Orton got his head opened up like, a giant tomato. That's about really what the extent of this is. It wasn't really ultimately a very good match, but it was a very polarizing match. Now, I maybe am ranking this one a little bit too high, ultimately, with what it was, since it was the Viper versus the Beast, which kind of sounds a bit like, an Asylum production, but moving on. This just wasn't, it just wasn't very good. The only reason I'm ranking this as high as I am is at least the ending kind of, made Brock look like a monster. I mean, at least there was that. And making him look like a monster while keeping him away from the title is not is how you really should be booking Brock. He shouldn't be a champion anymore. This is kind of how you book him. It's just a shame that Orton suffered a legit concussion and it kind of ended or kind of stalled the whole thing that he was doing with Bray Wyatt. Yeah, that wasn't a very good idea to just say, yeah, I'm going to elbow you in the goddamn face and see how that works out. Yeah, that didn't work very good. 2005, SummerSlam is going to be the discussion for number 19. It's Hogan versus Michaels, Icon versus Icon. This one really should be ranked at the bottom, quite frankly, because it was Michaels being so goddamn unprofessional, but so goddamn hilarious at the same time. Two guys, they were known for not wanting to do business the right way or drop titles or, in politic and everything, even though Shawn had changed. I don't think he changed all that much, but anyway. Hogan, it was going to be Hogan and Michaels having a series of matches, like 3 matches. And it was going to be Hogan winning one, Michaels winning one, and then, they were going to have a third match down the road, maybe at the Royal Rumble or something like that. Who the fuck knows? Well, no, Hogan says, wait, I have a bad back. I'm going to need some kind of surgical procedure, or my knees hurt. I'm just going to beat you straight up and everything. So Michael says, okay, I'm going to act like a goddamn dick. And he did act like a goddamn dick. And actually, that was pretty fucking funny. It was pretty fucking hilarious. I really did enjoy this. It wasn't great, but it was entertaining. Now, was it a great match? Oh, fuck no. It was a fucking atrocity. But it was still entertaining in the sense that you just wanted to see just what Shawn Michaels would do next. And God, he oversold everything. It was like Hogan's right hand was like a freaking Scud missile that, the jets were flying over him and like making him fly like 50 feet for the big boot and stuff like that. That was pretty funny. And Shawn really shouldn't have gotten punished for that, and hopefully didn't. But anyway, then we go to number 18. We go to the 2015 SummerSlam, Undertaker versus Brock. Look, I'm sorry, this didn't work for me. It really, really didn't. I mean, yeah, you had Undertaker screw over Brock and everything and do a little low blow stuff because he wanted to get his revenge on Brock. I get it. But it just made Undertaker seem like a goddamn dick. Yes, Brock broke the streak, but then Undertaker didn't attack him for like about 18, not 18 months, but like 15 months. Still, it's like, okay, he did that. I mean, yeah, Brock was not necessarily like a baby face. I mean, really at all, but it just, I don't know. It just seemed kind of petty and everything and ridiculous. And Undertaker did win. And then he lost to Brock at Hell in a Cell in a much, much, much better match. Wasn't as good as their Hell in a Cell match in 2002, but still it was pretty good. Yeah, this one was just sloppy. It was just a sloppy end and stuff like that. I mean, Brock did do the whole flip off thing when he, went to sleep in the triangle choke or the Hell's Gate. Yeah, not exactly really great, but I mean, hey, it got the point across and everything. The Undertaker would do anything to get revenge on Brock. I don't know. I just didn't like it very much. And then we go to number 17, Cena versus Orton for the WWE title. This is before people were getting really sick of Cena and Orton in the main event. Though, I will admit, this was probably one of their weaker matches. Now, it was a good match. Do not get me wrong. Orton had been targeting Cena's dad and stuff like that, and there was more, there was more stuff going on and everything, and they were doing some good stuff as far as, like, how they were setting up their feud. This is probably one of their weaker matches, though. Now, I mean, granted, by 2009, we would get totally sick of this, but at least they had a good pace to it. Now, it wasn't a great match, but it was an acceptable match. Cena had a better match earlier, at the previous year against Edge, I'm going to discuss here a bit later on. This served its purpose, but still, they would go on to have better matches, and they wouldn't go on to have way too many matches, so it was acceptable. And then we go to 1990 for the number 16 entrant. It's Ultimate Warrior versus Rick Rude for the WWE title in the steel cage. Well, Rude bled, and Warrior basically made him look like a goddamn joke, and it was pretty fucking ridiculous. It seemed like the match should have gone on 5-7 minutes longer, but nope, Warrior just got out of the cage, did the swivel hip thing like Rick Rude does, and said, nope, I'm going to drop down, I'm going to win. And yeah, that was Rick Rude's last WWE pay-per-view appearance as an active competitor. He would appear otherwise, like as far as like being the insurance policy and everything, but it ultimately didn't work. I mean, but then again, it was Warrior. It was Warrior in the ring. I mean, what the fuck do you expect? This was sadly probably Warrior's best match at SummerSlam, and it wasn't his most impactful because when he beat the Honky Tonk Man and everything. But I just didn't like this. I didn't like this at all. Mainly because it made Rick Rude look like a goddamn idiot. Number 15, the Mega Powers, Hogan and Randy Savage with Miss Elizabeth. Easy for me to say, with Elizabeth. Versus the Mega Bucks, Ted DiBiase and Andre, and Jesse Ventura as the referee. This is the famous one where Miss Elizabeth distracted everybody by removing her skirt. Oh my god, she's wearing some type of red spandex panties. I mean, granted, okay, for WWE at the time, I guess it was considered risque because WWE was much more about the entertainment aspect and everything. And Miss Elizabeth was no doubt a beautiful woman. For some reason, I have difficulty saying that. But Elizabeth was no doubt a beautiful woman. So yeah, sure, okay, that got the attention. And then you had the whole dynamic of Ventura not trusting Hogan and everything. Was he going to favor DiBiase and Andre? It served its purpose as far as continuing feuds and everything, and you had the Mega Powers and you had all this stuff going, but it was also more evidence of Hogan holding Randy Savage down while he was champion. Randy Savage should have faced Ted DiBiase in like a marquee main event match for the title, and he didn't do that. And I just didn't fucking understand why Savage didn't get one title defense on any of the pay-per-views that they did. Now, I mean, granted, they only had 4 at the time, but he won it at WrestleMania. He didn't defend it at SummerSlam. Didn't defend it at Survivor Series. Didn't defend it at the Royal Rumble and lost it at WrestleMania. It just to me, kind of devalued it. And I thought Savage did a phenomenal job with the title, and I just wish he could have been featured in at least one other pay-per-view defense. That's just really me. But then again, Hogan, always keeping, people down that were always better than him. It's a shame Savage is not around anymore and Hogan is. So anyway, we get to number 14, Shawn versus Vader from 1996 for the WWE title. Had Vader won, I would have ranked this top 3. And Vader should have won. Vader should have won this. Or they should have just done the DQ finish and everything and had it where they continued the feud and maybe Vader, was rumored to have won it at Survivor Series, which I would have been fine with. But no, they didn't do that. They did not do that thing. It was ridiculous. And I hated it. And I mean, I just hated that. I loved the match. The match itself was actually pretty goddamn great. But Vader deserved to be WWE champion at least once. And the fact that he wasn't is shameful. Shawn, of course, politicking his way there. And I mean, duh, what the fuck else was he going to do? Because Shawn Michaels is a freaking joke as far as, like, you know, being a stable human being and everything. Now, as a performer, the guy's a fucking elite performer. Never going to deny that one bit. But as a human being, especially in the 90s, he's owed up to it. And he should have. He's a fucking goddamn little bitch is what he was. He was a car wreck. He was addicted to pills. He was this kind of stuff, whatever. And he was a terrible champion. He delivered great performances, but he was a terrible champion. This should have been top 3 easily. And I just can't rank it there. Even though the match was good, I have to rank other ones above it. So we get all the way to 2006 now for the number 13 entrant, and that's Edge versus John Cena. Cena's hometown, oh God, Edge is going to lose if he gets DQ'd. He's going to lose the title if he gets DQ'd, but because the referee didn't see this stuff and, you know, Lita slipped him a little foreign object, the illegal foreign object, Edge was able to win. Edge was able to retain, and I like that. I liked that Edge retained, and I liked their feud in 2006. The Edge versus John Cena feud was fucking tremendous. This was a way to keep it going, and then you had Edge lose in Toronto the next month, which was the right call, honestly. Edge had a pretty good title run. Not a great title run, not a long title run, but a pretty good title run. And I actually enjoyed what we got here. Even though, yes, it was a heel cheat and everything, at least it served a purpose, and Edge was the ultimate opportunist. It served its purpose and told a good story and continued the feud, as I just said. We go to 2001 now for the number 12 entrant. Booker versus Rock for the WCW title. I almost wish Austin versus Austin versus Stone Cold. Austin versus Angle had been the main event. Even with the DQ finish and everything, I felt that was a better match. However, Booker and Rock had some really good chemistry here. And it was a very, very enjoyable match. Yes, there was a whole bunch of like bullshit and everything, and, you know, a whole bunch of interference and people running around, this kind of stuff. But it's still, they had really good chemistry. Now, I wish we would have gotten Rock versus DDP, and that would have been a whole lot of fun. But Booker and Rock worked well together. It was fun. It was a really good title match. Very, very hectic, very frenetic. Good, enjoyable. You go watch it. Even this is one of the few bright spots of the invasion angle, which is a shame. I really hate the fact that the invasion angle was never capitalized on like it should have been. I fancy booked it actually back in 2016 and actually thought I did a pretty good job of it. And who knows, maybe in 2021 I'll do a 20-year reflection on the invasion angle and talk about that. Or I might just do it sometime next year. I don't fucking know. This was a bright spot, though. I thought these two worked well together. Number 11, going to 2014, Brock versus Cena for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. Brock destroying John Cena. Just destroying him, flattening him. 16 German suplexes. It was great. It was fucking great. I'm not Brock's biggest fan now because I have no desire to see him as champion, but at this time I just liked that Cena lost and that he lost in such convincing fashion. Like, it was just a fucking squash. He got in a little offense, barely any, but just Brock dominated him. This was the right call. This was fucking great. It was a fucking great match. Was it a great match? No, but it was just a great moment. Just see Brock just destroy Cena. That was fun. Number 10, John Cena versus CM Punk for the WWE title from the 2011 SummerSlam. Okay, technically Del Rio's cash-in would be the main event, and you had Kevin Nash interfere and everything, but let's just go on the full match, because, sorry, I consider them kind of be one and the same. Del Rio cashed in afterwards. Then you had Triple H as a special guest referee. I think Punk winning was the right call. And it was a great match. It wasn't as good as their Money in the Bank match, but it was still quite good. And you had Kevin Nash interfere and spike Punk, and then Del Rio cashed in, and that was ridiculous. But taking in just the Cena Punk match was just really, really good. It was really well worked. These two always worked well together. And it's hard really to have anything negative to say about these two when they always at least had a good match. And oftentimes they had great matches. And their feud never got boring. Whenever it was like, oh, they can't, maybe they can't do anymore, they cooled it off, and then they picked it back up in 2012, and then they did another, couple matches in 2013, or at least one match in 2013. They did some good shit. They did some good shit. So anyway, then we go to number 9, Daniel Bryan versus John Cena for the WWE title. This was Orton's cash-in. So yes, again, if you take the cash-ins would have been ranked way low. Daniel Bryan taking down John Cena, who was dealing with an elbow injury, I think it was a bicep tear, a severe bicep tear that kept him out all of 2 months. So it must have been so goddamn severe. Those recuperative powers, pal. But anyway, or they just blew up the injury thinking that people would buy into it, him being out for months and months and months when he was only out for about 2.5. But anyway, Daniel Bryan winning and holding the title off, and then Triple H being the special guest referee again. And then Orton coming down to cash in, and then Triple H spiking him, with a pedigree. And then Orton cashing in. And fucking Christ, they gave it to us and they took it away from us. And I hated it. And of course, their ultimate plan was to have Daniel Bryan be in the main event of WrestleMania 30. And there's no way that they stuck every roadblock, end of the line, in the way, and tried to piss off the fans and everything, except they did exactly that. So, that was a good match, though. I certainly did enjoy it. And Daniel Bryan winning was great. And then we go to 2004's for the number 8 entry. It's Chris Benoit versus Randy Orton for the world title. Well, Orton got put over. Benoit putting over a young talent and not tapping him out unceremoniously. I'm a terrible human being for that. Benoit, in all seriousness, did put over Orton. It was a very good match. It was well done. I encourage you guys to go watch. There's really nothing much to say about this. It was just a great, well done technical classic of a veteran versus a young guy with the right guy going over. Benoit's title reign may ultimately be seen as a failure, but I still enjoyed this. I thought it was fun. And then we get to number 8. It's, number 7. We get The Rock, Triple H, and Kurt Angle in a triple threat match for the WWE title from SummerSlam 2000. Despite the fact that there was a botched pedigree spot through the announcer's table, and Angle suffered a severe concussion and was sent back out to still do the spots, it was a good match. It was Rock and Triple H for most of it, and they always worked well together. But even Angle was there for a lot of his spots and everything. I have no idea how. I have no idea how Kurt Angle was still able to function after that. But it was a very, very good match. It was hectic. It was crazy. Rock retaining was the right call. It was a really good match. It was really good. It wasn't the best triple threat match that Rock and Angle have been involved in. I would go to Vengeance 2002 for that, when Undertaker was there, and it was a great undisputed title match. But this was still just as good with a lot of great storytelling, and I personally enjoyed it. And then we get to number 6, Rock versus Brock, WWE Undisputed Championship 2002 SummerSlam. Very good stuff. They had to get the crowd back into it after Shawn and Triple H had basically exhausted the crowd, and they were able to do it. The crowd was starting to chant for Brock more, and they were starting to say, let's go Lesnar, because they knew The Rock was leaving. And Brock ultimately won. No controversy. Clean. It was great. It's a great fucking match to watch. Many would argue that I ranked this one a little bit too high. Yes, I'm ranking a lot of Brock matches a bit higher than some people may think, even though I'm down on Brock now. But I'm taking some, biased opinions out of the fact that this was a pretty goddamn good match. It was a pretty good. Was it the best goddamn main event ever? No. I mean, taking in like, if you took every Royal Rumble, or if you took every SummerSlam, Survivor Series, and Mania main event, and you mashed them up, this probably wouldn't even make the top 20. But for SummerSlam, for the fact that it was showing a crowning achievement for a new guy, they accomplished their goal. Number 5, 2009 of SummerSlam, it's Jeff Hardy versus CM Punk in a TLC match for the world title. Talked about this match at length in a retro review of the CM Punk Jeff Hardy feud. It was great stuff. Jeff Hardy doing death-defying shit. He was going to be leaving the company soon, which is good because he got busted for drugs, or having drugs in his house and everything. And it doesn't seem like Jeff Hardy's necessarily learned a whole lot of stuff. But anyway, moving on from that, we had CM Punk winning. And then, he beat Jeff, and he's staying over Jeff. And then, Undertaker appears after the lights go out and everything. And the spoopiness, and Undertaker chokeslams CM Punk. Doesn't chokeslam Jeff Hardy, though. That would have been interesting. And we get that match. So we're going to get that feud later. But this was a great match with a lot of death-defying moves, especially Jeff Hardy dropping off an insanely high ladder, and crashing through the announcer's table. Poor Spanish announcer's table, but it was a great match. 2017 SummerSlam is at number 4. Brock versus Strowman versus Joe versus Reigns, Universal title. One of the best four-way matches I've ever seen. I would say the Backlash 2007 match with Cena, Michaels, Orton, and Edge is still topping this. This is one of the best four-way multi-man matches that WWE has ever done. And I thought this was going to be shit. And it wasn't. And Brock pinned Reigns, but it was madness and chaos from the opening bell. It was great stuff. Watch this. It's a car crash, but it's so goddamn fun. Number 3, Undertaker versus Edge, Hell in a Cell match from the 2008 SummerSlam. And Edge, it was the blow off basically of Edge and Undertaker's feud and everything. It was just great. Edge got sent to hell, fire and everything came up. So Edge was incinerated, but then somehow came back 3 months later. Yeah, that was fun. But still, it was a great match. It was a really, really good match. It was really, really damn enjoyable for a PG, because they went PG by this point. It was a great PG era Hell in a Cell, probably the only really great one beside maybe the one that he did with Brock like a number of years later. It was just such a terrific match, well done, and was great for Undertaker to get his revenge. And then we go to 1997 for the number 2 entrant, Undertaker versus Bret Hart, WWE title. Shawn is the special guest referee. I think if Shawn didn't call it down the middle, he was going to be fired, but if Bret lost, he would never compete in the U.S. again. Undertaker was a champion. Of course, Shawn's emotions got the better of him. He took a chair away, went to crack Bret with the chair, but ended up hitting Undertaker with the chair and had to count Bret down, or had to count Taker down, and Bret as champion. And then that would swing into the Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels feud, which was a great feud as well. This was great, though. It gave Bret his last WWE title run. I enjoyed this match immensely. It's just such a great ultimate clash. It's so goddamn good. It's so goddamn good. Go watch this. I encourage you guys to watch this. But number 1, and is there any doubt, it was Bret Hart versus British Bulldog for the IC title at SummerSlam 92. What do I need to say about it? 80-something thousand people in Wembley Stadium cheering on both men, but especially the Bulldog. Bulldog wins, despite the fact that he had been awake for so goddamn long because he partied and everything with Jim Neidhart, apparently, rumors. And, yep, Bulldog got led through the match, and he was there for every goddamn spot. Bret Hart managed to win. Oh, wait, he didn't. Bulldog won. Imagine if Bret would have won, and that would have been something that, that probably would have sent, the Wembley Stadium, burning to the ground. Though it certainly would have been a great heel move. Now, Bret knew the right thing. Bret was always right about doing business. Montreal Screwjob aside, and Bulldog won, and that was great stuff. And then they celebrated and everything, and it was great stuff. And then Bulldog, unfortunately, only had a 3-month title run, but oh well, let's move on from that. That is the list. So I'm sorry if I rushed through some of this stuff, and thank you for putting up with the weird behavior and everything. But do you agree? Do you disagree with what I said? Where would you have ranked some of these matches? Let me know in the comments. Like, share, subscribe. Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Ritlin. I will see you soon.